All right, welcome to All right, welcome to another edition of the Up and In It show. I'm your host Adrian Babashoff, and let's get into it. Today I'm coming at you with it's good to lose. What could we lose? What could we win from losing? What could we learn from losing? Being a fucking professional loser myself, I think I have a lot of knowledge in this field. No, seriously, guys. Today's is a motivational, I hope, to share with you guys some ideas and some tactics and things of why we don't get off doing the things, get going and make the dreams that we want happen. Why don't we try different things, because I think it's a lot of fear. It's a lot of fear from losing. And and that fear of losing is blocking us, I think, from doing a lot of things that we want to do, whatever that means to you as an individual. So let's jump in today. I think these are words from Confucius I will start with. And it's basically the knife is sharp. And what Confucius meant by this is that he would tell a student, the knife is sharp. And the student says, "Master, I understand." He says, "Oh, do you?" I'm making that part up. But the guy says, "I understand." And then he gives him the blade, and the student starts working one day and then cuts himself really deeply with the knife and says, "Master, the knife is sharp." And he goes, "I know, I told you." He goes, "No, but it's really, really sharp." He goes, "I know." But it wasn't until that student actually got cut by the knife to understand that that knife is sharp. It goes down. I believe there are a lot of life lessons that we can learn that the older and older we get, we learn it on deeper and deeper levels. I know for myself was just understanding things that I look and I'm like, well, I understand you got to have compassion, compassion for people. I want to have compassion because it makes me feel good and it's good for the world. And then one day someone will have compassion and kindness and treat you with that effect and how it affects you. And you go, wow, that really felt good. And you understand it on deeper and deeper levels. But you would never experience these things if you didn't try. And the illusion of what our society and public education, I think, religion, I don't want to piss any people off. If you know about the show, I definitely talk about things that could be controversial, I think. But it's not my intention to piss anybody off. But all of these things, public education, religion, societies, unwritten laws, all point to things of not permitting you to fail, that failure is not an option. And when in fact, by failure is where we learn the most. We'll give you guys an example about how I've been making more money than I ever have in my life when I learned this tactic. So what I used to do is I'd go in and I'd do these I used to go in and do these presentations, right, to my clients, each individual, sometimes groups. And what I found is I'd pull out these samples and I'd start talking and everything. And I noticed the people would just kind of, they'd get starry-eyed, they'd get blurred, especially by me talking. I would tell them how great and why it is I had to convince these people of why they should hire me. So after sitting there and observing this situation, I figured it was a loss. I did lose. I didn't sell a lot of work doing that. It didn't help me out. But the day I discovered bringing an iPad with me with pictures on it, it helped propel it out by giving live examples with the samples that I gave. I would show them, this is the old stuff. You can see here how flimsy it is, and look at the new stuff. You can stretch it like a rubber band and it retains its form. It's resilient. So those were things that I was able to do by losing. I would have never have learned if I didn't try. So now I use videos. I've progressed into videotaping every job that I do and showing people by video instead of by pictures, which helps even better. So I keep bettering and bettering. And it was definitely awkward, I have to say, for me to pull out my iPad and get these homemade pictures. And some of them in the beginning were very cheesy, you know what I mean? But I developed it and I had to find out, test it out. What did people want to see? What sparked interest in them? So in fact, I wanted to end this rant with, it became so great that I've had a couple of people tell me, you should patent that. So, and I work 9 months out of the year, people. I did that when I was, I'm a single father now, but I worked I was the sole provider when the mother of my children was taking care of my children when we were still together. So I think that validates that this concept, and what I have to share with you guys is got a foundation. It'll work for you guys. So let's move forward. That's the significance of losing, is that you learn so much more. And I think on all the wins, if we focus on wins only, you kind of get in your comfort zone, and things are evolving, things are changing through automation and technology so fast that if you don't stay on top of it, you will be left behind. And I think that every once in a while, we need to feel the sting. We need to be cut by that knife, so to speak, metaphorically speaking, there, to understand where we're at. When everything's going so great, it seems to me like it's almost harmful. We get out of our comfort zone. They say Alzheimer's may be attributed to just repetitious. They said one of the people, it is said, I don't know if this works, but it kind of makes sense to me. Look at how many things we get comfortable. When you go take a shower, you always start washing with your right arm, right hand. Why don't you start washing with your left hand instead? Break it up every day. Instead of turning left to go to work, go right. Change things up to always keep momentum and keep things stirring and alive in your brain, and keep your mind exercising, and your spirituality, your happiness, everything, your physical form. Keep it always working. Sometimes losing to win, I think, this is one that I use for my children, is I will purposefully sabotage something in a sort of way that's not going to hurt them, of course. Having a special needs kid, so what I mean by this is that I will flip her pants inside out, and I'll hand them to her and say, put your pants on. And there's something about her special needs that she doesn't like the tag sitting on the outside. It's got to be in a certain position. And this is therapy for her. She'll put the pants on and notice... she'll notice that the tags on not only is her pants on backwards, but they're inside out and the tag's sticking in the forward. So she has to take them off. She takes them off, she puts them inside out. And then after many tries, she finally gets it right, and it feels good to her. She's like, wow, I did something. I did it by myself. So you see where I'm going with this? Sometimes I think we don't want to make things too easy for ourselves, and specifically for our children. They need to know that everything doesn't streamline, everything doesn't run perfect all the fucking time. Okay, so I think losing to win is a big, nice lesson, and I think a good sandwich for us successful people to eat every once in a while, so that we learn where we came from, what our roots are, and to know that, hey, even though you're here today and you're making this happen, all that shit can be taken away from you at any point. I think the larger you are, I mean, look at the wars that's going on with like Facebook and YouTube and things like that. One of these days, one of them is going to rise up, and people are taking from each other ideas. I don't want to get any conspiracy theories or theories on it, get in trouble, but you see where I'm going is you got to watch your shit, man. And I think you'll learn a lot. Once you lose, you learn far more from your losses than any of your successes. So I think the fear of losing before you even try. I've met some people who had these dreams and these ideas, and we'd sit down and talk like humans, and I would say, well, how come you haven't done these things that you want to do? Like, I'll probably fuck it up, and I don't have enough education, I don't have enough this, that. And I'm looking going, man, you can do so much. You just have to believe in yourself. But I think beyond believing in yourself is giving yourself the allowance to fuck up, to have failures. As I said, you can learn a lot from these things. So how many things that we do, whether it's relationships or, the simple fact of saying I love you. I mean, that one was a scary one for me at one point in time. But you just go and say it and you practice it and you get reciprocated and you're like, well, this is a wonderful thing. So yeah, I think getting away from fear, and to coin fear, like, let's really take a look at fear. What exactly is fear? Fear is nothing. It's like this feeling you have. It's like one of my favorite speakers, Terrence McKenna, was saying, is that you don't even know enough to be scared or concerned about life in general, our solar systems and everything. He equates it to you getting into a car and having fear and anxiety and that this car is going to break down, yet you know nothing about the vehicle. Okay? Do you see where I'm going with that? We're scared at something before we even try. And basically what I look at fear is just the unknown. It's the unknown. Like, I mean, if you took it crazy, which like my own mother was doing, living in Slab City and shit. We're having a podcast coming on what Slab City is about. It's basically a place in the desert where transients, people, just homeless people, go to live and nobody fucks with them. You can build whatever the fuck you want, do whatever the hell you want. But the fear of going and doing something like that is numerous. That maybe I'd get raped or murdered, or maybe it's this, it's that. And that's in her experience, what you guys will hear in the podcast is there's a lot of danger and a lot of things that happen, but there's also a lot of good things, and it's safe enough and a wonderful enough experience for that particular person to want to go back one day. So you never know until you try, but getting past that hump of fear, I think, if we can get that into our minds, that there's nothing to fear but fear itself, as the saying goes. If we won't know until we try, and that fear, all it is just the unknown. So get out there, try something. I think if I can give advice here is, with a little bit of intelligence, okay? If think, am I going to hurt people? Am I going to hurt myself? Will I die? Most cases it's like, no, nobody's going to get hurt. You may get a little financially hurt, but you can do some planning with that, save up some money and go, well, I'm going to give it this shot for this amount of time, and then I'll find out what I can learn. If I fail, and then I'll come back. But what if you're successful? What are the things you learn? And I think on that note too, is a lot of things that I've done, experiences I can share with you, is that it turned out to be nothing like I thought it was going to be. I was scared, but once I got into it, I learned so much from it. I learned what I kind of don't want to do. There it is that I learned that I thought I wanted to do this thing, but by trying and having it go down and figuring like, it's a lot more work than what I thought it was going to be, I learned that I didn't want to do that thing. And now I can move on to the next thing. Another story I'll share with you guys, I moved to the state of Oregon. Beautiful. I love the ocean, the country, the wilderness and everything, but that fucking rain was getting to me, man. It was just raining constantly. I'm like, oh my God, living tiny in a place that rains 24/7 just about can be very, very difficult. And the cold was like, I'm a little baby. I tried Arizona. I visited there in spring and in summer. Summer's just, it's crazy. You're fucking, back then it was a tape cassette. I left it on my dash. The whole thing melted and warped into this ball of plastic. I was leaving. I rolled my window down, stuck my arm out, like you normally do on your car, burnt the shit out of the inside of my arm here. I was like, oh, God damn. It's crazy. But I learned that I don't want to live where it's super hot. I don't want to live where it's super cold. I want to be a little bitch and live in California where there's so many fucking restrictions. I just had to say it. Hey, clowning. Don't get angry. So basically, yeah, I learned what I didn't want and what I do want. Yeah, I wonder, so where does all this fear and all this anxiety, where does all this stuff stem from? As I quoted earlier, I think it's public education. People are fucking crazy. They're rude. Children are fucking evil, man. When I think about when I was in school, you were very scared of getting made fun of and everything. And I think stuff from your parents always yelling at you or forcing you to do things, I think those are the kind of things that can get into your life and really fuck you up. It can be that silent voice. You're a fucking loser. You'll never amount to anything, or there's always this that could happen. Play it safe, And one of the things I will tell you guys from the dying regrets of old people dying, one of their regrets is that they played it too safe. And they wish they would have taken more risks, because at the end of their life, now that they know they're dying, they're like 90 years old, 100 years old, they're dying, they're reflecting back. They were like, it didn't pay off to play it safe every single time. By playing it right, it was boring. It didn't really pay well, and there was a lot of loss, logically, of course. But yeah. All right, so now that we got that going out of the way there, sometimes I think, here's a big question of mine that I've been rolling around in my mind of like, well, I can't do this. This is going to be weird. Weird compared to what? There's how many weird things do we have going on in life right now where it's like, no, that's fucking weird. What you want to do is could be normal. Maybe you're trying something different. I think trying different things to better yourself is not weird. You know, it may appear fucking weird. I think there's some of us fucking weirdos that do weird shit, but we're going to leave those all, you know, we're not going to mention about them. There's some weirdos. I'm sure a lot of people thought about me that way as well, but no, is it? Where did this unwritten law come from? Is this thing that we all did we all agree on it? That it's weird. So sometimes I ask myself, and I've had people ask me, I want to do this thing or anything, but I think it's kind of weird. And I'm like, well, compared to what, man? What are you comparing that towards? If you're comparing that towards a destructive society who funds wars and that we're throwaway society, and you watch things, that's not weird. The American dream is a wonderful thing, and I think some parts of it are still possible, but when you look at statistics and stuff, I'm like, that's weird. That's the weird fucking part right there. So I don't know much more to say on that one. I think fear too is when I notice a lot what's happening with Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube and all this kind of stuff is that we're measuring ourselves against successful peoples, but we're not seeing the parts of where they're failures and shit that happened to them that took them to get to that area. And I think that there's a lot of falseness going on. And that's a big point in this show is I don't want to share with you guys just all the great, look at me, look at this wonderful stuff. Look at me sitting in my shiny 1996 pickup truck. You know you want to, you know you want it. No, I think that we're not exposed to a lot of the hard work and the failures and fears that people had to confront and do to get to where they're at. You don't think there are some geniuses and very talented people, I think, out there that have made stuff happen for themselves. But I guarantee you everybody had to start somewhere and everybody had to work. I think it's sad that we have so many people in our society nowadays who are down on themselves and starting new things and getting frustrated and measuring themselves against these people who, like I said, none of the failures and things were ever spoken of. It's just all about the good, none of the fucking bad. And I guarantee you, everybody's got defects. Nobody looks beautiful all the fucking time. We all age. We all learn more. So yeah, I think that we need to stop that shit. And we need to get out there and fuck shit up. Be a fucking loser like me, man. Look at me, I'm probably fucking up this whole show right now with all kinds of little ifs and ands and all. I can't stop saying the word fucking retarded, man. So there's stories, I think, like one I can recall right now is like Johnny Depp, the actor, if you don't know who he is. He originally came to Hollywood to be a musician, and that was his dream. And as I said earlier, his success turned out nothing like he thought it would be. He ended up being an actor. So I think to let the flow of things, open the doors of possibilities, to open up and be subjective, to be willing to pivot and to move with the way our dreams and things that we're after and learn from our losses and our gains, that it may not look exactly the way we thought it was going to be, but we move forward and it can end up being something more. As I said, when I did Oregon and Arizona, I learned what I didn't want, and now I know what I do want. And you can kind of refine it, and it should just get better and better, but we never know until we try. And the story of Johnny Depp is a perfect example. Very successful actor. I think one of the best actors, one of my favorite of all time. And it's just a perfect story there. In nature, I think this is where we learn this lesson, is that a lot of plants, will grow, trees and plants and shrubs of that nature, and you can see it as a loss of, like, you'll grow them the first year and they won't be very productive. But as they get adapted to their environment and they keep growing in succession, they get better and better with time, if done properly. So you can look at somebody who first started out their gardening, look, this is a fucking disaster. But you give that person 3 years of failure and they will turn to success like you haven't seen anywhere on the fucking planet, utilizing natural farming techniques and permaculture. So I think that's a lesson from nature, is like a forest gets burned down. Or I think a good one is that well, there's weak genetics or some, or it's just a fucked up thing that these wood beetles, like here in California, they're eating up all the pine trees and they're all dying. This is a catastrophe. It could be that the immune system and things are compromised of these trees, and yes, they will probably all die just left to nature. But I believe that after they die, the strong ones that are still living, slowly by slowly, will create an actual new genetics to balance out and to bring back the forest in many, many years, many, many times. So you would look at it as a loss. But throughout history, I believe that's how things have progressed, is weak ideas, weak genetics, and things had to die off in order for the strong to live. Otherwise, imagine a world without trees. The trees had to lose. They had to have this compromise. Animals and evolutions and things had to fail and flop and die off, and then the new ones would come and they would multiply and be the success that you see now. Wonderful, beautiful trees and animals and microorganisms. So I think nature, in a way, teaches that. It's patience, and I think it takes time is one of the biggest ones. I think being a young person, as far as learning, being successful, and losing, I think that I'm the type of person that has listened a lot. Did I utilize everything? I'm going to say no. I was a dumb fuck when I was young. Just like most young people, they think they know it all. But I think if you were willing to put down that fear of ego and know that there's people who have been here longer than you have, and they have some very good information to say. Not all of them. Not all of them. I still meet old people today where I'm like, you're a dummy. That's the information. That's the advice you're giving me. Like, wow, I didn't know I have this illusion that when you grow up, grown-ups know everything, not necessarily the case. But the point here is for those of you young people to know that you can jumpstart your life by learning from the losses of older people, not even younger people. It's these people who've experienced people, I guess I could say. What a loss it is, I would say, to not utilize the information, the values that these people have tried and tested and gone through the aches and pains to give you a shortcut. Let's see, starting over again. Losses I think that I want to share is that a lot of people shit talk me, told if you stay in one place, that's why I'm successful. I don't have to move. I gained customers and name for myself and all this, and I've done that anyways, even though I've moved multiple times. So I would say that things of that nature, to stay put, play it safe. As I said earlier, that sounds fucking boring to me. Maybe not to all, each to their own. If you want to do that, that sounds fantastic as long as it works for you. But for those of you who are adventurous type like me, kind of nomadic, and you want to go experience stuff, look, there's always ways to do things. Don't fear and don't waste your life and your dreams over having to do what everybody else is doing. You can always build yourself up. I'm proof of that. I think that would probably be a good podcast. I'd love to hear in the comments if you guys can let me know. But yeah, I've built myself up, knocked myself back down, built myself back up, tried new things, gone to new places, and I wouldn't know and have the experiences that I do today if I didn't try it yesterday. I think that we need to learn to quit at what we're not good at. We all can't do everything. There's some very talented people, I think, that can do a lot of things, but I think that through trial and error, losing, you can find out what you're good at and what you're not. As Henry Ford said, somebody asked him, why don't you get a degree and a master in this thing? He goes, why would I do that when I have 10 people working for me that have master degrees, and that when I could just ask them to do the task for me? You see how we can turn this around? I'm starting to wear out on this one, you guys. Let's see here. Fighters, people who professionally fight, like in the martial arts, claim that it's very humbling to get your ass fucking kicked. So losing, they learned a lot of how to win the next fight, but they said it's very humbling. And they said because there's this whole tough guy when you're a man, you understand, that you got to act tough all the time. And they said that some of the UFC fighters and karate people are some of the nicest people on the planet, because you get your ass smeared every once in a while. It really humbles you. So I think there's a lesson in there somewhere that getting your ass kicked and hitting rock bottom can actually humble you and make you into a good person. I think that when you lose at one thing, find another thing and keep trying. There's some of you people that might get stuck. I see every once in a while where they're like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know which thing. I know I want to do something. I don't want to be doing what I'm doing here. And the only advice I can give you on that is you got to keep trying, man. You're everybody's good at something. And don't get deterred and just quit. Keep trying new shit. Keep exposing yourself. And you probably don't see this, but you're learning so much, so many skills that can open you up to other skills. By losing, by trying different stuff, you find out what you don't like, what you do like, but you will, if you continue to press on and push forward, you will find something that makes you happy and something that you're good at. And again, if you're willing to do the work and get in there and make it happen. But I'll tell you guys one thing, when you find something that you like to do, it's not even a job anymore. You wake up, you're just excited. I want to give you guys an example today. I've been recording all day, writing notes. I'm having a good day. So I'm going on. I think I'm on like 6-7 hours. I haven't even eaten. You just get excited and pumped. And I want to share that with you guys. And I hope that's yeah. I think there's the muscles, I would say like there's mental muscles that you learn from losing. Whereas when you first start out, you try to do something, you got this wonderful idea, and then it gets fucked up, it gets compromised, and you get hurt. I mean, it hurts when you believe in something so much and it didn't happen. But you start to gain this muscle in yourself where it's like, okay, I've been knocked down before, and I'm getting back up. And it's not easy. I don't think it's easy for anybody. But as you keep developing, getting past that pain, basically the bruises and the tired, you start to learn to work more efficiently or what went wrong and how you can fix it. Because if you believe in yourself enough with the thing you're doing, you'll find a way to make it happen. But you will grow stronger as a person in many ways that you couldn't even understand from multiple levels. I think for me, I've never really been flat broke, but I've seen people who are broke, meaning money. And I'm like, man, I've got low before. And I'm like, the stress and stuff, I never want to taste that. And I think that's what keeps me motivated to keep on top of my financials and this alternative lifestyle design is I'm like, I don't want to be in that situation. I don't even want to be close to that situation. But I wouldn't have known if I didn't see that or experience somewhat of it. And it's a very scary thing, especially when you got children. Until when you're by yourself, it's one thing. But man, when you've got people you're responsible for, it kind of shakes and wakes you up. So you guys, that's all I have today. I hope that this message finds you guys well. I hope that this stops some of the fear, kind of explains it a little bit, gets you motivated to try out there. And you know what? You probably are going to fuck up, and you should. Our society teaches that failure is not an option, You can't just drop out, wherever all of these things are coming from. All these little voices, all these little moods. Fuck what society tells you, what anybody fucking tells you. Believe in yourself. I believe in you guys. I believe you can do whatever the fuck you want. There's all kinds of people doing crazy shit, man. I mean, look at Elon Musk. He's doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And I think it's because he doesn't give a shit. There's probably people who have said, this cannot be done. Oh yeah? He does it anyways. There's people, new shit, new art, new music, and everything is derived from people who go out and above their comfort zone and get past the fear to make something new. And that's how we get new music, new movies, new stories, new products. New stuff by people going out there and trying. This is the beauty. This is the cream of life, is us getting out there, getting beyond our fear and making shit happen. And I think for the most of us, we're not movie stars, rock stars and all that, but we're the movie star of our life. And unless we try, unless we're willing to accept that knife that Confucius taught us about is sharp. And yes, we may get cut, and let's try to make sure that we don't get too cut where we're irreparable, but to be able to experience the pain and learn from the pain and learn from other people and not be scared. We don't need to be scared, guys. There's so much that's possible. And share your stories with me. Comment, give me a thumbs up, a middle finger, or a thumbs down, or a peace sign, whatever you got, man. Thanks so much for watching. This is Up and In It, and moving you from surviving to thriving, exploring alternatives to the daily grind, and living life